$5 million of that and used it to buy a yacht. Would be morally repugnant, wouldn't it?
That would, and no, that's not.
And that you have to do is spend the money on research.
We should, absolutely.
It's real simple. Auditors found 137 critical trials funded with taxpayer money involving 41,000 kids, and they didn't even report the results. What happened to the money?
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, where we tell it like it is and fight to keep America free, strong, and honest. Today, I want to talk about something that should make every taxpayer in this country mad as hell. What's happening with your hard-earned money at the National Institutes of Health, or NIH? Now, I just watched a Senate hearing, and let me tell you, it was a doozy. Senator John Kennedy, one of the few with any backbone up there, grills the president's nominee for the top job at the NIH. And folks, what came out in that hearing is just jaw-dropping. Let's start with the basics.
Doctor, you don't look like Satan to me.
I hope not.
Some of my colleagues have accused you of everything but abandoning your children to wolves. Do you hate medical research?
I've devoted my life to medical research, Senator.
Do you hate the NIH?
I love the NIH. I think I said that in my Senate hearing, my earlier Senate hearing. I think it's the most important biomedical institution in the world.
This budget that we're debating today is the president's budget. When's the last time Congress took a president's budget and enacted it?
You know, the funny thing is, thanks to this process, I've got to talk with all of y'all.
When's the last time that happened?
I can't remember.
It's never happened in the history of ever.
I mean, everyone has strong opinions about what should happen, and Congress gets to have a say, and that's a good thing.
There's some changes that need to be made at the NIH, aren't there?
There are.
Okay. If I'm the president of a university, and I came to you at NIH and said, I need $10 million to research a cure for nephritis. And I took that $10 million and spent $5 million of it renovating the vice provost home. That would be morally repugnant, wouldn't it?
It would.
If I were a college president and I came to NIH and asked for $20 million to research a cure for dementia, and I took $5 million of that and used it to buy a yacht for my university, that would be morally repugnant, wouldn't it?
That would, and no, that's not.
And that's happened before, hasn't it?
That's not hypothetical, alas.
And there's been a lot of talk about the difference between direct costs, spending the money, for example, on researching cures for nephritis, and indirect costs, overhead. Harvard, for example, with a $53 billion endowment, spends 69% of its money from NIH on overhead, does it not?
I haven't looked at the latest numbers, but it's definitely in that range.
Yale spends 67.5% on overhead, does it not?
Again, roughly in that range, yes.
So all this money spent on overhead is money that's not being spent on medical research, is that right?
Well, it's for fixed costs of like lab space and things, but also sometimes for other things. So it's some of it's absolutely necessary.
Well, if I'm the Gates Foundation, and I came to the NIH and said, I don't want money. I want to give you money. I want to give you $100 billion.
Yeah.
But you can't spend more than 10% on overhead. Would the NIH turn it down?
I wouldn't turn it down, no. In fact, I think that Gates Foundation overhead rates are roughly, again, in that range, 10 to 15%.
The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation limits overhead to 15%, does it not?
That's what I understand, something like that.
Now, I want you to think in terms of the American people and the importance of medical research. What do you think is more important? And we have finite resources. Okay, and I support giving resources to NIH. I think NIH does breathtakingly innovative work. But if you ask American people, would you rather give money to research cerebrovascular disease, or would you rather give $142,000 to the Seattle Children's Hospital to study how to use telehealth to improve access to gender-affirming care? What do you think the American people would say?
Senator, the NIH should be a non-political organization, non-ideological, addressing the health needs of the American people.
But yet, the NIH also spent $120,000 in a grant to, quote, develop 3D avatars that help people work through gender dysphoria, end quote. Did it not?
It did.
And the NIH also spent $2,368,492, gave it to Brown University to study, quote, improving mental health among the LGBTQ community impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Did it not?
I think it did. Although I have to say that
Do you think that's more important than studying chronic lower respiratory disease?
I mean, I think we should address the real health needs of Americans, not divide Americans into we have to take into account the real differences in in the biology of people. But when we do that, we should do it in a way that really addresses their actual health needs. Not
I'm running out of time. What we have to do is spend the money on research.
We should, absolutely.
It's real simple.
I agree with you, Senator, 100%.
And some universities aren't, and NIH is not calling them on it. Isn't it a fact that a study showed between 2017 and 2019, auditors found 137 critical trials funded with taxpayer money involving 41,000 kids, and they didn't even report the results? What happened to the money?
Senator, I think that researchers we support have an obligation to share their data publicly with the American people, no matter what the result.
Otherwise, it's wasted.
Yeah, agree.
All you want to do is fix NIH, don't you?
I do. I want to fix all those problems, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
The nominee says they love the NIH, says it's the most important biomedical institution in the world, and claims to be devoted to medical research. Okay, fair enough. But here's what blows my mind. The waste, the mismanagement, and the misplaced priorities of the NIH and our so-called elite universities. Senator Kennedy brings up the fact that universities like Harvard and Yale, places with billions in their endowments, more money than most small countries, are spending over 2/3 of their NIH grant money on overhead. That's right, not on cures for cancer, not on fixing diabetes, not on actual research, but on overhead, which means administrator salaries, fancy offices, maybe even a new home for the vice provost or a yacht for the university, as Kennedy said. And the nominee? Well, they agree that would be morally repugnant. But guess what, folks? It's happening, and it's your tax dollars. Now, think about this. Private charities like the Gates Foundation or the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, they won't let more than 10 or 15% go to overhead. But our own government? 69% at Harvard, 67.5% at Yale. That's theft, plain and simple, and it's happening on our dime. And then it gets worse. Senator Kennedy lists off some of the ridiculous studies the NIH is handing out money for. $142,000 to Seattle Children's Hospital. For what? To study how to use telehealth to improve access to gender-affirming care. In other words, to push an ideological agenda on kids. $120,000 to develop 3D avatars to help people work through gender dysphoria. Are you kidding me? Over $2.3 million to Brown University for research on LGBTQ mental health during COVID. Now look, I care about mental health, but let's get real. How is that more important than, say, fighting Alzheimer's, cancer, or heart disease? That's what the American people want. Let me be crystal clear. I want the NIH to succeed. I want real cures, real solutions for real Americans. But the way things are going, the NIH is turning into a political playground for the woke left instead of a non-political, non-ideological institution that serves all Americans. Senator Kennedy nailed it when he asked the nominee what the American people would choose, spending money on life-saving research or on these fringe ideological projects. I can tell you right now, the average American wants answers for cancer, heart disease, diabetes, not taxpayer-funded social experiments. It doesn't stop there. Kennedy also brought up the fact that 137 clinical trials, funded with your money, involving 41,000 kids, never even reported their results. That is a total breach of trust. If you're taking taxpayer money, you owe it to the public to be transparent, to publish every result, win or lose. Now, the nominee says they want to fix the NIH, and I hope they mean it. Because here's what I think needs to happen. Slash the overhead. If private charities can keep it under 15%, NIH can too. In the political, ideological research, focus on real, pressing health problems affecting all Americans. Enforce transparency and accountability. No more hiding research results. No more blank checks for universities. Folks, the NIH was built to serve the health of the American people, not to funnel billions into university slush funds, not to pick winners and losers based on ideology, and certainly not to play politics with our health. We need real reform, real leadership, and real accountability. So what do you think? Should your tax dollars be spent on 3D avatars and gender-affirming telehealth, or on finding cures for cancer and heart disease? Drop your comments below and make your voice heard. If you agree with me, if you're tired of the waste, the woke agenda, and the lack of accountability, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. The only way we're going to fix this mess is by standing up and demanding change. God bless you. God bless Senator Kennedy for asking the tough questions, and God bless the United States of America. See you next time.